But we begin tonight with a live look from the White House, where we're learning President Trump's plans for a massive new ballroom now include what he called a massive complex for the military underneath the new East Wing. That's what he told reporters on Air Force One this week, just days before the National Planning Commission is set to vote on the ballroom plans, and a federal judge is expected to decide whether to pause the project amid a legal challenge. But the News 4 I-Team found those aren't the only concerns. After months of debate, we still don't know just how much corporate donors are paying for it, and more importantly, why. Our investigative reporter Ted Oberg took a trip to the White House and found some visitors there wondering the same.
As spring arrives, we found plenty of tourists taking in the views of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, or at least trying to, through the fences at distance. This bedrock of American power, it is fenced off from the Ellipse on the south side past Lafayette Square on the north side, meaning you almost have to crane your neck just to see the cranes.
I don't know what it's going to look like. It seems like it's changed a couple of times.
By it, this man from Philadelphia means this. President Trump's plans for a massive new East Wing, a suite of offices for the First Lady, a commercial kitchen, and that much talked about 1,000-seat ballroom. It'll be as tall as the White House and nearly as big. You're from Ukraine. Does every great democracy need a ballroom?
Yeah, good question. I don't know, like monarchy, right?
The Ballroom project won't be built with your dollars or mine, but by some of America's billionaires and biggest companies, some of them with really big government contracts. Nearly $14 billion total in fiscal year 25, according to an I-Team review of federal spending.
Okay, well, if corporate owners are paying for it, yeah, go ahead and do it. Why not?
We should know who is spending money there seeking to influence our government.
That's why not, says Donald Sherman. He's the president and CEO of CREW, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington.
It is a part of their lobbying strategy. It's a part of their influence-seeking strategy. The public should be able to know who is paying tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars to influence the commander-in-chief while we are a nation at war.
The White House did release a partial list of donors, roughly 3 dozen, but not how much those donors were giving. Published reports suggest many of the donations are in the millions, including one from our parent company, Comcast. We asked Comcast why they gave the money. No response yet. We don't know how much anyone's given.
True.
How does that sit with you?
I guess I'm okay with it. People do a lot of things for donations, right?
The money is being collected by a charity called the Trust for the National Mall, not a new organization. They've been around since the early 2000s, and they have handled some White House projects before. Think of that controversial makeover of the Rose Garden during President Trump's first term and, well, another in the second. Now they're also sprucing up Lafayette Park. The Trust says it's not responsible for the Ballroom project, just collecting the money. A Justice Department attorney said in court it's the executive residence, meaning the White House, directing the Ballroom project. President Trump estimated the cost will approach $400 million and said last fall $350 million had already been raised. To be clear, the White House hasn't publicly promised anything to the Ballroom donors, but many were invited to a glitzy White House dinner last fall as a thank you.
That's why we're here, to celebrate you, because you've given tremendous amounts of money to see a ballroom built.
But Sherman says despite companies cutting checks for the ballroom, he wouldn't call this charity. In CREW's view, it's a lobbying expense, money meant to influence federal policy, and it should be made public.
We need to understand who has a seat at the table, how much that seat costs, and what are the outcomes as a result of it.
CREW found at least one company that included this donation on their lobbying disclosure. We asked every corporate donor on the White House list why they didn't include it on theirs. We only got one response back. It was from Lockheed Martin, a company that does billions of dollars in government work every year. A Lockheed spokesperson told the I-Team Lockheed Martin is grateful for the opportunity to help bring the president's vision to reality. It wasn't lost on some tourists gazing at the White House what all that money might buy. You think it gets you a seat at the table?
I doubt it.
You think it gets them a seat at the table?
I'm sure it does.
President Trump has said he's also given money to the Ballroom project, but the White House hasn't said how much. We asked about that, as well as how much had been spent so far. In a statement, a spokesperson didn't answer our questions, but said President Trump is working 24/7 to make America great again, including his historic beautification of the White House at no taxpayer expense. These long-needed upgrades, the statement continued, will benefit generations of future presidents and American visitors to the People's House. The Trust for the National Mall didn't agree to an on-camera interview, but told us it follows all IRS rules and, as the nonprofit partner of the National Park Service, worked with every administration since its founding in 2007. I'm Ted Oberg for the News 4 IT.